We arrive at the latter parts of Dragon Ball Super. But, with everything that's changed so far, the things beyond the Tournament of Power are going to be very different too. We'll cover all that and more in this 13th part of What If Everything Was Canon. Morrow goes straight for the Demon Realm. Of course, the Patrol immediately knows about Morrow's escape, and they decide to go to Earth. Mayra specifically goes there because Jocko told him there's a bunch of strong people, and maybe the Saiyans there could help out. They're going to have to travel there on their own, and maybe once they're in the Demon Realm, Goku could teleport right to him. But that remains to be seen. Morrow makes very quick work. Immediately when he gets to the third demon world, he starts absorbing various demons along the way. Now, even though Garlic Jr. is the ruler of the Demon Realm right now, he hasn't really made any changes yet. Thankfully, he's not an oppressive ruler like Dabra was, for example, or like Goma would have been. But he kinda just sits there. He's more like a lame duck ruler. The demon worlds aren't united just yet. Anyways, Morrow gains some power by absorbing a bunch of the demons around here, and he eventually finds Tamagami 3. He's able to locate the Dragon Balls just by sensing them. This is something he actually did in canon. So he finds Tamagami 3, defeats him, and even kills him. Despite his old age, Morrow has more than enough power for this. Even without having his youth restored, Morrow put up a great fight against Vegeta and Goku on Namek, so he's more than strong enough to fight Tamagami 3 here. Neva senses this and is pretty concerned. Garlic even senses this too, but he's not worried just yet. He's got a trick up his sleeve. Morrow gets to the second demon world and grows even stronger, killing Tamagami 2 and then getting his second Dragon Ball. He's doing this all very quickly, and he's killed a good chunk of the population along the way. His plan is to get the Dragon Balls and restore his youth, and then, once his youth is restored, he's going to use the third eye. Now, just like he could sense the Dragon Balls, I feel like he'd be able to also sense the presence of the third eye. He expects to find it in the first demon world, but it's strange. As he tries to locate it, he feels a couple of strong magic presences. One is in the first demon world, but two of them are actually in the third demon world. Were there third eyes there as well? Little does he know, he completely passed up the store that sold them because he didn't even expect to see it there. But whatever. Knowing that one of them is in the first demon world tells him that somebody probably already has access to it, probably the king of the demon realm. Morrow feels he's unstoppable, and being cocky like he is right now, he decides to go right for the first demon world, not backtracking and going to the third one. Also, if he backtracks, he risks being stopped midway. It looks like the king's forces are going after him already, so he needs to just keep pressing forward. He arrives in the first demon world and continues absorbing more of Garlic's troops. He's still old, but not as much as before thanks to absorbing all of this energy. There's been plenty of snacks for him along the way. Even besides the Demon Realm's residents, he just takes the natural life energy of the planets along the way. He feels the Third Eye's presence nearby. The first thing he does is immediately go for Tamagami 1. Neva's nearby, and he even buffs Tamagami 1 in preparation for this, but it doesn't work. Morrow simply absorbs the buff for himself, taking away the magic that Neva granted him. He easily kills the final Tamagami, getting the third Dragon Ball. Sensing Neva nearby, he then sticks a hand out, telekinetically dragging the Namekian towards Morrow. This must be the Namekian who made the Dragon Balls here. He can't kill him just yet, but he wants to make sure he stands still. So he holds on to Neva, as he then summons Porunga, quickly wishing for his youth to be restored. Great. Now he has no use for Neva, and no one else really needs the Dragon Balls. Right as he's about to execute Neva, a magical beam of energy flies right past him. And Neva is freed from his grasp, drawn away by some other force of gravity. A small demon steps up. Morrow is a bit confused at first, but then he realizes who this is. This must be the new king. It has been millions of years, so he doesn't know about anybody else that has been here since. But after sensing everything that was going on in the universe, I feel like he might have at least been aware of Dabra, and how he was defeated. Dabra now resides in heaven, and while he's there in heaven, he actually can sense everything that's happening in the demon realm. Now Dabra's been good. Since we are including filler as canon here, Dabra's a good guy after death. But he worries about the demon realm now, and he kind of regrets how he ran the place. He monitors the situation, and as he prances around heaven, he actually runs across two people. Twins, in fact. Anyways, back to this fight. Morrow underestimates Garlic Jr. at first, but then he goes into his super form. The two begin fighting. Morrow asks him if he's going to use the third eye. He says it's clearly in his possession, and there's no point in holding it back. Garlic Jr. says fine. He'll do that. The third eye then pops out of his forehead. He merged with it a while ago. When he became the king of the demon realm, he made sure to seek this out for extra power, and eventually he did find it. Some demon had it as part of his belt, so thankfully it wasn't too hard to find. He's merged with it for so long that he's even learned to conceal it. However, it still does have the same weakness. If he's hit 3 times on the back of the head, it'll be knocked out of his head, and Morrow knows about this. The thing he doesn't realize is that Garlic is going to be really hard to defeat. He's immortal, he has the third eye, and he has his dead zone barrier. Plus, that technique he just used to grab Neva, that wasn't him using telekinesis or anything. He can control gravity. He's grown more adept with using the dead zone, and even applying it to his magic too. Besides creating and opening black holes and having the dead zone barrier around him to block attacks, he could use it to manipulate gravity. Morrow tries to absorb power from Garlic Jr., but Garlic counters. The power from the third eye protects him. So, Morrow tries to use the weakness of it, trying to hit Garlic on the back of his head, but every time he tries to hit Garlic, none of his attacks land, specifically on the back of his head. What? Did Morrow think that he wouldn't know about the weakness of the third eye as well? Morrow regrets not going back to the first demon world, because this is a losing battle. He's not going to be able to obtain the third eye here, or defeat Garlic. He tries to escape, but Garlic doesn't let him. And amidst this battle, Maris, Goku, and Vegeta eventually arrive. Garlic's a bit terrified to see them here, but it looks like they're not here to fight him or anything. It's probably for this Morrow guy. The whole reason Garlic has grown this strong by now is because he was kind of scared of everybody on Earth. And despite his immortality, Garlic's time with the Cell showed him that he was really weak in comparison to everyone, as well as the fight against Majin Buu and Janemba. Morrow sees these Saiyans and he could sense their godly presence. Saiyan gods. Interesting. What are they doing here? Goku and Vegeta watch for now, but tell Garlic if he needs help, they'll step in. Though, it looks like Garlic's got this. Morrow tells them to not be so cocky. They might be Saiyan gods, but just like the original Super Saiyan gods, who once fought the evil Saiyans, they will fall again. At least, once he kills Garlic. Evil Saiyans? What's he talking about? Garlic continues facing Morrow, and he even grows larger in size. Morrow tries again to steal energy from him, but this actually just buffs Garlic if anything. Since the third eye adapts to attacks, it'll probably even adapt to this type of magic. So, Garlic now has the energy absorption in his possession, reversing it, using it to return all the energy that Morrow's stolen. Now, he still did get a lot of power from the Dragon Balls, but any power he gained by absorbing life in people, that gets returned and those people get restored. Garlic says he's glad to have his subjects back. Maybe he'll consider uniting these worlds, but first he has to get rid of Morrow. With one final attack, he gravely injures the wizard. Morrow's bleeding out, and Garlic asks him something. He's originally from the Demon Realm, isn't he? And Morrow says that's true. Besides his amazing magical prowess, that's part of the reason he knew about all this stuff. He tells Garlic he'll never be defeated. And Garlic begs to differ. If he wanted to wish for something really good, he should have wished for immortality. With a final blast, he completely eradicates Morrow. He even almost deployed the Black Water Mist. That way he could have made Morrow one of his minions, but he doesn't know if that would have worked against Morrow, and Morrow is too dangerous, so he opted for killing him. Thankfully, Garlic isn't incredibly evil, and despite still being evil, he doesn't plan to rule this place like Dabra did. Considering the Demon Realm once produced people like this millions of years ago, he doesn't want any other Morrows to be born. He's glad Neva's still alive too, and tells him he can rebuild those Tamagami. Neva's amazed at the power he just witnessed. So are Goku and Vegeta. Wow, Garlic has grown a lot since they last saw him. And Garlic could tell that they have grown as well. But he reminds them. He said he wasn't going to mess with their world or anything, so he hopes they don't plan to do anything to him. Goku says no, they were just trying to help against Morrow. Garlic breathes a sigh of relief. Well, at least that's been dealt with. Goku then asks Garlic if he knows anything about what Morrow was talking about. He seemed to know some stuff about the Saiyan gods, and some sort of evil Saiyans. Like, they've heard these rumors before when first doing the Super Saiyan God ritual, but they don't know anything in detail. Neva says he doesn't know much about it either, but it shouldn't concern them. That's ancient history, and surely, there's no way an evil Saiyan will rise up again. Granted, he still knows very little about it, but he's brushed up on his knowledge of the Namekian Book of Legends. I feel he'd know at least something about these Saiyans. Back in heaven, Dabra breathes a sigh of relief. His demon realm is safe. The two people with him ask what happened, and he explains. After death, Dabra spent his time frolicking around heaven and meeting a bunch of great warriors, learning things about the universe that he didn't know before. He's even met Goku's friend Paikon. And it's weird, these two people that he just came across, they seem to be Saiyans. He asks who they are. Their names are Shala and Giblet. They tell Dabra they've been dead for a while. Dabra says he feels a weird presence coming from them, and Giblet says it's because they're descendants of the original Super Saiyan God. It must be that godly energy he's sensing. Interesting. Charlotte says that when Dabra mentioned demons, they didn't know he meant actual demons. He thought it was all metaphorical, like maybe an evil Saiyan rose up again. Evil Saiyans? Dabra doesn't really know about any of that either. But that's part of the reason he's exploring this world now. He wants to learn more about history, the history of everything. Maybe these two will be a good resource. Back in the living world in Universe 7, let's go to Beerus' planet. Goku and Vegeta continue training. They didn't actually get to fight against Morrow, but Goku was able to figure out Maris' origin, and he trained with him to get Ultra Instinct Omen. He's still going to be delayed in getting the complete Ultra Instinct, especially because he didn't get it in the Tournament of Power, but he's on a good track, and at some point, I feel like he'd unlock it. Meanwhile, for Vegeta, he eventually gets Ultra Ego. Broly's been training with them a bunch too, and he has control over his legendary form. Since he's been around them for way longer and been training for way longer, while Goku and Vegeta are probably on par with their normal selves, Broly's actually way beyond his normal self, just because of that. The Granola arc can't really happen here. No Morrow means no Zuno for the Heaters, and no Frieza means no reason for Granola to make the wish. Funny enough, Granola and the Heaters don't even realize that ancient ancestors of the Heaters were unleashed a few years ago, long since sealed away by the Kaio. Granola lives his life out on cereal, and, for now, everything's going to be low-key with him, but we might see him later on. As I mentioned in the first part, Bardock's escapades on Planet Cereal still went the same way as normal. Bardock still was there, and he was the one to help save Granola. Without the Granola arc happening right now, Goku and Vegeta aren't going to learn about that. But even stranger, they're never going to find out about the fact that Bardock was sent back in time and became a Super Saiyan to fight Chilled. But who knows, maybe down the line they'll learn about this. So that brings us to our final arc of Dragon Ball Super, Superhero. This starts out pretty different. Piccolo's going to be handling things alone as he has Orange. The Gammas don't have knowledge of his full power, and when Gamma 2 is sent out to fight him, Piccolo defeats him with ease. Then he defeats Gamma 1. However, the quick defeat of the Gammas causes a big issue. Magenta panics, and Cell Max isn't even near complete yet. Preemptively, he wants to awaken Cell Max, a little bit earlier than normal. So against Hedo's warnings, that's exactly what he does. The Gammas are alerted and immediately try and head back to base to help Hedo. Piccolo could sense this and he asks them what's happening, and they explain. Dr. Hedo was continuing Dr. Gero's research on Cell, basically creating a brand new version of Cell, a better one. Piccolo could fly a lot faster than the two of them, so he simply grabs onto the Gammas by their capes, going orange and rocketing over to the red pharmaceutical base. As he flies over, two other people fly alongside him, Gohan and Tapion. Since no one else knew about this assault on the Red Ribbon Army, Goten, Trunks, 18, and Krillin aren't present. Bulma's not involved either, and Pan wasn't kidnapped, so she's not involved. But Gohan and Tapion sensed what was going on with Piccolo, as well as this insane power that was just unleashed, so they caught up with him, and when they arrive at the base, they see Cell Max rampaging. Since they weren't nearby, Cell Max has already left the base, and is slowly making his way towards civilization. They're gonna have to fight him. A 4v1 ensues, and even with the great power of everybody combined, still, it's not gonna be enough. Piccolo's the strongest of these four right now, but his orange form still can't make a dent, even when Hedo tells them about the weak spot. So, Piccolo decides he's gonna try and buy some time, asking for Gohan to charge an attack. Gohan agrees, and he has an attack in mind. And I think you could see where I'm going with this. Gohan here is pretty relative to normal. The only difference is I would say he's not nearly as rusty as he was normally. But strength-wise, right now, he's pretty much where he should be in Superhero. And with the way things are going, it eventually leads to Piccolo's defeat, causing Gohan to awaken his beast form, defeating Cell Max pretty much the same way as normal. Hedo eventually makes his way to Capsule Corp and starts working for Bulma. And now Gohan, Piccolo, and Tapion have new allies, the Gammas. But, just like that, we've now ended off Dragon Ball Super. However, before we get to the end of Z, there's still something else. The Tournament of Power was a pretty big spectacle, especially with a bunch of universes being erased, and one mortal in particular wants to do something about it. Zeno has way too much power and authority. To think, he could just erase universes on a whim and no one could stop him. Except for this particular individual. He has a plan, but he's also going to need some allies. With that, we'll leave off here for now. What'd you guys think about this part? What's going to happen next? Leave your thoughts and ideas in the comments below. I'd love to see what you guys think. As usual, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really does help out the channel, and it shows me you want to see more videos like this. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.